Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul joined alongside Jack Weinberger and Robert Ziggy Ziegler at the University of Virginia. A very fun episode for us today, guys.
Put him up, Ziggy. Put him up.
We have the most vulnerable division champion rankings as today's episode. We're going to go down 8-1. Each of us has a list of the most vulnerable defending division champions who could be some surprise teams that fall off from their division crown last season. We're going to break all that down. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We have 35 members right now. And remember, at 50 members, I will be doing a Jordan Love episode, meaning I will be wearing a Jordan Love jersey for an entire episode, which is really... I know it sounds simple, but I don't enjoy doing that at all, guys. I don't enjoy putting on green and gold and going in front of a camera because it's just more ammunition.
Well, especially the Jordan Love jersey doesn't even really fit you. So it's like, it's really tight. It's constantly constraining you, reminding you of the way Jordan Love keeps the NFC North down.
Oh, I look so dumb in it. And then...
Yeah, the boys are getting hot, though. The boys are repping up the members, so...
Yeah, well, and then I heard, Paul, I heard from the comments that if we hit 100 members and we go to the Vikings-Packers game week 4 next year...
Not if we go.
You're going to have to wear the Jordan Love jersey.
When we go.
Oh, God. When we go. Someone did suggest if we get to 100 members that I wear...
See, or 50K subs. I think we should lock that in right now.
50K subs?
Or 50K subs or 100 members.
100 members has got to be easier than the 50K subs.
I want to do
Either one.
I want to do a contest with the fans shot for shot with Jack Weinberger.
Oh, at the event?
I bet I can take down anybody who I go up against.
Yeah, we're going to attempt to make it out to do a show.
Or somehow. beer for beer.
At Vikings-Packers week 4. That is in the works right now. We're trying to get out to Lambeau Field, potentially do a live show. It could be a lot of fun. So pay attention to that. We'll keep everyone updated there. I'm not sure if 100 members yet is the number I'm going to decide on since we're only 65 away, because that's a real punishment. Like, that is a real bad punishment to have me out in Lambeau in Wisconsin wearing a Packer jersey. That hurts.
We will get some incentive, folks. We're negotiating. We'll get some incentive to get Paul to do
Yeah,
this.
We're in negotiations right now.
You're I mean, why do you like the Vikings? They don't pay your rent, the Vikings. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter.
You know how much time I've invested?
Some things are worth more than money, Jack.
But right now, we've made money on the Packers. The Vikings don't do money. They don't know you exist.
I mean, the
Packers fans know who Paul Farrington is. But the Vikings don't know you exist.
But they know because of my Vikings misery.
I think I'd be a Packers fan.
They know because of the Vikings misery. That's why Packers fans like this channel, because they get to see a Viking fan, 2 Vikings fans suffer immeasurably, year after year, day after day. And here we are. But again, thank you everyone who subscribed. We're almost at 11,000 subscribers. Remember, you can watch. You can actually watch on Spotify as well, but you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts if you can't happen to catch the YouTube episode. And remember, a member can write whatever they want. And someone took advantage of that today. We'll get to that in the mailbag coming up later, where we will read verbatim what you say in our mailbags.
As long as it will not get us banned from YouTube.
As long as we don't get banned from YouTube. So someone took advantage of that today for the first time. And we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. Excuse me there. So why don't we start off, guys? And Ziggy, actually, real quick, funny story for you, Ziggy. Jack lost his wallet yesterday. And I don't know if you could hear us looking around for it right before the show started, but Jack lost his wallet. And he calls me up at around 10 a.m. or 8 a.m., whatever it is. He's like, hey, can you check around your house? Jack was here yesterday watching the Knicks lose to the Pacers. And I go looking all over the place. We played some basketball outside. I look everywhere. I'm like, nope, can't find it. Like, I'll keep looking throughout the day. To be fair, I didn't really look that hard, but I did wander outside.
I know you didn't. Yeah, no,
I took a. I gandered.
I was going to come here and look myself.
I gandered. Like, I looked around. But, Jack calls the golf course that we went to a driving range. He calls our friend's car he was in. He looks everywhere.
I can't find him in 4 seconds.
Jack comes. No, not true.
I found him in 4 seconds.
Jack comes over here. I'm the one who found it. Jack comes over here.
I was over there.
And goes and looks over by the couch. And he's like checking in the cushions and everything. He's like, we can't find it. I'm like, I'll keep looking tomorrow. And right after Jack walks back to sit down here, I walk right over to the couch, and just sitting on a table in the middle of the room is his wallet. And I'm like, Jack, this is it, right? And he's like, oh my God, yeah. I don't know. Like, look, I don't know how I missed it. I don't know how he missed it.
Like, being here all day, I don't know how you missed that. I would have found it if I was here.
We're looking at it right now, and you didn't see it.
If I was here for 10 hours all day, I would have found it.
Remember, I'm working though, and there all day. I'm barely out here. But it was pretty funny. So we found Jack's wallet. Thankfully, that's a horrible feeling when you lose your wallet.
Well, it also does blend in with the table color.
Yeah. Yeah.
The wallet's brown. The table's brown.
Yeah, the 2020 vision, and clearly I don't.
Yeah, clearly I don't either.
All right, let's dive into the
Ziggy probably does.
Ziggy.
I'm saying this is not helping Jack beat the allegations raised against him in the comments. That's all I'm saying.
Quiz me on Capitals.
That's it. Capitals.
These fans don't know the Capitals every state like I do.
The most vulnerable division champions, guys. So we each have our list 8-1. Okay. And at the bottom for each of us, we all have the Chiefs and the 49ers there. So we'll start off with those two teams. For me personally, at 8, I have the Chiefs, meaning that the Chiefs are the most likely team to repeat as division champions. 7, the 49ers. And it's really tough because San Francisco, it feels automatic that they're going to win the NFC West. And I have no problem if either of you guys have the 49ers as the most likely to repeat. But the way I viewed it was who has a bigger challenge in their division? Is it the Chargers to the Chiefs or the Rams to the 49ers? And personally, I think that the Rams have a better chance of being a competitive playoff worthy team this upcoming season with Matthew Stafford, if he stays fully healthy, than Justin Herbert in year 1 with Jim Harbaugh. So I have 8 Chiefs, 7 49ers.
Yeah, that was my exact reasoning too. I have the Chiefs 8 as well, Niners at 7. The Chiefs have won this division how many years in a row?
Oh, what is it now? 6 years?
6, 7?
Something like that?
Something nuts. And I just don't believe that any other team in this division is good.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think the Rams are solid. So that was it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have the 49ers at 8 and the Chiefs at 7, but for basically the same reasons. I just think the Rams are a little bit worse than the Chargers. Okay. And I put a lot of stock in the Seahawks or the Cardinals to win the division. But I mean, look, these two teams, maybe something really shocking happens, right? Maybe someone gets hurt. Maybe something goes off the rails. But it would be one of the biggest shocks in the NFL this season if these teams don't repeat.
You know, it's funny, though, when you talk about injuries for the Chiefs or the 49ers, we've seen them sustain some big injuries over the years, too, where San Francisco just a couple of years ago had all the quarterback injuries, and still, I believe they were the 2 seed, right? With Purdy when they lost to the Eagles. And Mahomes doesn't miss a lot of time, but every now and then will miss a game or two. Or at least get banged up because he's had some ankle problems. But these teams, for the most part, have been able to sustain almost anything that's been thrown at them. And the Chargers have always felt like the team that's going to come up and challenge the Chiefs. But just year after year, it's disappointment. So they're hoping with Jim Harbaugh that changes. But I don't think anyone, and let us know in the comment section, if anyone thinks differently than the Chiefs and 49ers as the 2 most likely teams to repeat.
No one's going to comment that.
I would love to hear it because I just can't see it happening. So the real list here starts at 6, and it's 6-1. So why don't we each go 6-1 here, and then we'll get into some further discussions. Jack, why don't you start off here? 6-1.
Yeah, say the best for first, as they say.
Exactly.
So 6, I have the Texans. 5 is the other team in Texas, the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
4, I got the Lions. 3, I got the Bills. 2, I got the Ravens, and then 1, to me, the obvious is the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs aren't the best team. The Falcons are better than the Bucs. Like, the Bucs aren't favorites from the NFC South. I went Baltimore 2 because the AFC North to me is the best division in all of football. You got Cincinnati, who I think is the favorite to win the division, right? Maybe not. I don't know. It's close. But yeah, Cincinnati with Joe Burrow returning. Cleveland, probably one of the better defenses in football. Don't sleep on Pittsburgh either. A tough AFC North.
They're good. Pittsburgh's good.
Yeah, tough AFC North. Buffalo at 3. Lose Stephon Diggs, a team who I've had trouble trusting even recently with Stephon Diggs. It took a Dolphins collapse for Buffalo to win the division. Dolphins still a good team. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers back. There's 2 competitive teams there in my eyes. So Baltimore is bound with 3 competitive teams. Buffalo's got 2 competitive teams. Then you got the Lions. I think it's them and the Packers. That's why I put them behind Baltimore and Buffalo. The Cowboys is just the Eagles. Texans, I don't think they'll have a problem. Okay. And then Niners and Chiefs.
Got it. Okay.
So it was up. I was like that Ravens Bills 2-3 was kind of a toss up for me. And I went Ravens 2, Bills 3.
Gotcha. We'll get to mine at the end here, but I'm similar to you. Ziggy, how about you on the vulnerability list?
Starting from 6 and working our way up. 6, I have the Cowboys. 5, the Bills. 4, the Texans. 3, the Lions. 2, the Ravens. And 1, I think we all probably have this team at 1, the Bucs.
And I feel like 1-2 is Bucs Ravens.
Yes,
I think that should that's pretty clear cut.
I mean, we say that, but I don't know. It's like the NFL.com article that sort of got us inspired to do this. They had the Ravens at 4. So it's definitely not universally agreed upon that the Ravens are one of the more vulnerable division winners.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Cowboys and the Bills both above them.
So, Ziggy, let me ask you here. The Lions at 3 and really the Texans at 4. That's the one I'm most curious about. How come you put CJ Stroud and Houston there at the 4 spot, behind teams like the Cowboys and then the Bills?
So the thing that has me putting the Cowboys so low is just this. It's a 2-team division. I do not believe the Giants or the Commanders have any real chance to win the division. When you only have to worry about 2 teams, every single division above them, there's either 3 teams you have to worry about, or you're like the Bucs and not the favorites. So that's not so much the worry there. The problem I have with the Texans is while they did improve this offseason, there's no doubt about it, the Jaguars at least stayed steady and were very close to winning division last year, and the Colts improved significantly too. We have to keep in mind, right? This Texans team, it's not like they dominated the division last year. Mm-hmm. They were very, very close to losing it to the Colts and missing out on the playoffs entirely. So it's not as though, compared to some of the teams above them that won division a lot more decisively, they're starting from such a strong spot. Meanwhile, the Lions, I think this Lions team is very, very good. But I think that this Packers team is very, very close to them. I think the Packers are closer to the Lions than the Eagles are to the Cowboys. So even though it's pretty unlikely that the Bears or the Vikings step and win this division, though the Bears are, I think they'll be more competitive than the Giants or the Commanders. Mm-hmm. I think this Lions team is just very vulnerable to a hot Jordan Love.
Got it. Okay. So your list is a little. I'm very similar to Jack here, and Ziggy, you're a little bit different from the two of us. Where I have, like Jack, I had the Texans at 6, where they're the hot pick right now. Everybody wants to take them. They're looking, but on the same page, some people are trying to look for reasons to criticize them, saying, "All right, CJ Stroud's just not ready." Even the big pieces they brought in. I know you guys weren't huge fans of Stephon Diggs, or at least at the time of the acquisition, you weren't. But personally, I'm not worried about Tennessee at all. And Will Levis isn't concerning me. Jacksonville's too up and down, even though they do have talent and a very good young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And then the Colts I like a lot. We all like on this show, but Richardson needs some time to get going. I can't just sit here and say, all right, the Colts are automatically a playoff team, because there's still a lot of unknown with Anthony Richardson. So that's why I'm keeping Houston there in the 6th spot, because they're the only team I look at in the AFC South and say their floor should be a good team. Like they really shouldn't be. There's no world where I see the Texans being a average to bad team this year. They should be good at their worst. 5 at Buffalo. It's tough not putting them at 6, because I think Josh Allen's that good. But like Jack said, Rodgers, and last year they were 1 game away from basically missing the playoffs. So you can't just sit here and also put them in. 4, I have Detroit, number 2 team in the NFC right now. It's just, I agree with you, Ziggy. I really think the Packers are a good team, and that's going to be a battle all season. 3, I have the Cowboys. It's really tough between them and Philadelphia, but Philly just made moves to get better, and Dallas didn't. So I think that they're vulnerable there. 2, I have the Ravens. Not a mark against Baltimore in any way, because I can easily see them repeating as the 1 seed in the AFC. But I do think Joe Burrow is that good, where I believe the Bengals are going to win. Right now, the Ravens are the favorites. Ravens are the favorites. Bengals are right behind them. Then 1, the Buccaneers. I had the Ravens ahead of Tampa Bay originally, and you guys were both like, "Paul, that's insane." And I sat back for a second and went, "Yeah, you know what? That is insane." The Bucs are a good team, but they were 9-8, tied with the Saints for the division last year. The Falcons just got Kirk. They already had an okay roster. So I have Tampa Bay there as the most vulnerable team as well. So why don't we get into a little bit of these teams? We all had 7-8 49ers and Chiefs. We all had 1-2 Bucs and Ravens. It's really that middle ground there, the 3, 4, 5, 6 spot with the Cowboys, Lions, Bills, and Texans, where you can start to have some fun conversations. And you said something that caught my ears, Ziggy. You said you think that the Packers are closer to the Lions than the Eagles are to the Cowboys. Would you care to go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, so the betting odds don't quite reflect this, but at least as I see it, when you look at this Packers team, they were a very good team last year that split with Detroit. and realistically could have won both of those games. But the thing about the Packers, I think that has to scare you if you're watching from the outside, is it seems like they are on a very strong upward trajectory. Their big problem was the defense. Well, they got a new defensive coordinator and brought in some critical pieces in the secondary, right? The offense is just going to keep growing. Jordan Love, that was his first year playing professional football. He's going to develop all of those weapons around him. We've had people in our comments talking about it. They don't have any big name stars, but they've got 4 or 5 really excellent weapons. So this Packers team, I think, is just on a really strong upward trajectory. On the other hand, the Lions, I know their biggest weakness was the secondary, and they made some improvements. They got Terry and Arnold, Alabama. They made some additions in free agency. But and people might not like this, I am more confident in the Packers offense than the Lions offense. And I think these are both very, very good offenses. I expect both of them to finish in the top 10 and probably both in the top 5. But I think when it comes down to those big moments, I just trust Jordan Love to produce a little bit more. And I think the Packers in that way are closer.
Now, Jack,
Meanwhile, you look at the NFC East. The Cowboys, a lot of people are unhappy with their offseason, but they didn't get any worse, and they were a very good team last year. I am fine with the Cowboys mostly treading water. On the other hand, I think the Eagles are on a downward trajectory, right? They lost Jason Kelce. They lost some important players on the defense. It seemed like everything in Philadelphia was just a disaster last year. And the good news is you don't have to worry about Matt Patricia coming back and running the show. But on the other hand, I'm just not sure that they've got the coaching, right? It's worrying when you lose your offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and immediately all of the coaching falls apart. You really don't want to see that, and that's tough to recover from. I'm just not sure that the Eagles have the coaching to maximize their talent, and I'm much more confident in Dak Prescott than I am Jalen Hurts. So even if I think the Lions, they're rightly favored to win the NFC North, I think that the Packers are very, very close and could easily overtake them this year. On the other hand, in the NFC East, I just don't see it with the Eagles this year.
Okay, and Jack, you had the Cowboys higher in the vulnerability ranking.
Well, I had the Cowboys at 5 and the Lions at 4.
Okay,
but I was.
Oh, so you had Detroit more vulnerable.
But those two, it was very close. I took more of the angle. Like in my eyes, I think Philly and Dallas is just as close as Green Bay is to Detroit. I think
they're just a coin flip.
They're both coin flip, neck and neck. But where I went with Detroit as a bit more vulnerable is the fact that the division top to bottom in the
in the North,
NFC North, is better than, like, the Cowboys is seriously versus one other team. Where, I mean, is there a world where Caleb Williams is great? I guess. JJ McCarthy comes in week 4 or 5 and he's awesome. Maybe.
Or Darnold's good.
I mean, it is the Lions after all, and the Detroit Cowboys are kings of the regular season, going up against seriously just one other team, whereas the Giants and Commanders have no chance. Mm-hmm. And the NFC North as a whole, 1 through 4, again, I do believe it will be either Lions or Packers. But the Bears and Vikings aren't quite basement dwellers like the Giants and Commanders in my eyes.
Yeah, you're talking about two teams that might be. Like, some people are putting the Commanders really high next year in rankings.
But they're not going to win the division.
And no, I can't possibly see that happening. Ziggy, when you talk about the Cowboys and the Eagles this offseason, I disagree. I think Philly actually addressed their big weaknesses in the secondary. Now, of course, rookies might not pan out, but they go and they get Quinion Mitchell. They go and they get Cooper DeJean. They brought in who'd they bring in? The safety. They brought in another free agent whose name is I'm slipping up on right now. But going a big acquisition of Saquon. Like, I thought Philly was aggressive and took some big swings. And really, are they a 1-8 or 1-6 team the way they closed last year? I don't think so. While in Dallas, they literally did nothing. And I wonder how much better can it be? Where Dak was number 2 in MVP voting last season. Can you have a much better season in Dallas from what you had last year when you still had that playoff failure? So I think that the Eagles are actually, they're very close. All these teams, I think, are very close just in terms of you rank the NFC. I'd probably go Detroit, Green Bay, Dallas, Philly, or Philly, Dallas in order like that. But I just think Dallas is a little more prone to slipping upward. This Detroit team, I think, is trending upward. And it is just like so are the Packers. I think they're trending upward as well. But that's why I think the Cowboys are a little bit more vulnerable at the moment than Detroit.
Well, this is the interesting thing, I think, about both, as you talk about the Eagles and what I said about the Lions, is both of these teams are really dependent on rookies in the secondary stepping up on day one. And that's a difficult position to be in, right? Because as good as you can be in college, and some of these guys were very good in college, it's just a different beast in the NFL. Like Cooper DeJean was an excellent college player, but it is just tough when you have to go from guarding whoever Wisconsin's throwing at you to big-bodied NFL receivers. If you're Terry and Arnold, it's easy to do relatively well in college. I mean, it's not that easy, but it's easier than week 4 he has to face Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's not the hardest receiver on his schedule by a mile. Right. So it's a tough position to adapt to in the NFL when you have to keep facing the best guys you could have faced in college week in, week out, more complicated schemes, more to do. And some of them will step up and be good. But I'm always hesitant to just pencil in the best rookies in the draft as these guys will be great week 1. Because sometimes even guys that go on to have really productive and successful NFL careers, it's not as easy as just put them out there and they'll do okay.
Well, think about the NFC North. We're going to get to it in the mailbag. Someone asked about ranking the receiving cores. In the NFC North, you have to go against Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen / DJ Moore, and then the Packers, quartet of weapons at receiver. Like that's a tough ask for anyone in the league, let alone a rookie coming in as much confidence as Terry and Arnold seems to have. I want to talk about the Bills real quick, guys. So I had them at 5.
Buffalo.
Dude, what a great theme song. I went to the Bills game when I was maybe 14. I think I was 14 years old. Saw the Vikings play the Bills, 4th and 20. Kyle Orton was the quarterback for Buffalo. They converted, scored with 1 second left to win. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I have Bills fans, Bills Mafia. It was literally, I was 14, 13 years old. Some girl was twerking on me.
Hell yeah.
And I was just like, what is going on? Like, almost like a mom. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what is happening?
They're Vikings fans if Vikings fans were a little more deranged.
Yes. And I was just like walking around going like, I need to, like, this is insane. Especially when you lose. It was Teddy Bridgewater's rookie year.
Did you dance with her?
No, I was stunned. I didn't know what was happening.
Hey ho, Buffalo.
She also wasn't the kind of, it wasn't someone you necessarily want twerking on you, just to throw it out there. So it's like, again, 13-year-old kid, no idea what's going on. Anyway, though, Buffalo's atmosphere is phenomenal, regardless of what they do with to the opposing fans. It was an awesome crowd, and
on my bucket list. I want to go there.
So the Bills, I feel like they're getting a little bit underrated heading into this season. Where yes, they have had some big and notable departures, especially Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, notable names, people we've come to associate with Josh Allen's Bills over the past few years. But that's the thing. It's still Josh Allen's Bills. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Jordan Poyer came out, called him the best quarterback in the league, saying he can't wait to face him in Miami this season. Like, this is a quarterback who, everyone respects, everyone likes, and he's super talented. And Buffalo, even in a year last season where it looked like they were dead to rights the entire season, come on strong at the end, go on the road, win a divisional game against the Dolphins with the AFC East on the line. It feels like you just can't ignore all of this and say that the Dolphins or the Jets, with all that they have going for them, are going to take over. So I had the Bills at 5. Where did you guys have them again? You had them at 3, right?
I 3, but you know what's very funny?
Like how?
But we said, for quite a while how Buffalo's window could it be closing, yada 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 yada.
It came up 5 times this year.
Yeah. And now people, including myself for the most part, seem to be pretty down on Buffalo with everything they've lost this offseason. I'm wondering if this is now the year where the pressure's off of them, that they that they could do something.
Why not?
But I had them at 3. I was tossed up between this Ravens, Bills, Lions 2, 3, 4. It was all kind of, I was in the air, up in the air with them. Like I said before, this is a team who, again, a very good team, one of the best quarterbacks in football, a team who should be fine, even without Stephon Diggs and everybody else that they've lost. They're going up against 2 other very, very solid teams if they can stay healthy. I mean, the Dolphins had the division on lock. Like, that division was over. I think at one point they were minus like 500 to win the division.
Well, they lost the Titans game, right? Is that the game? I think we were recording.
Yeah,
right,
it was that
right?
Titans game. If people would listen to Ziggy in week 7 when he said this Bills team is a heck of a lot better, and I put a bunch of money on him to win
You
the division.
did. I forgot about that.
You did. But that division was wrapped up. At least I thought it was wrapped up. But this Dolphins team is good, kind of like the Cowboys, a regular season good.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing people have forgotten about this Dolphins team is they lost some important players this offseason.
But so did Buffalo. Buffalo lost a crap ton.
The problem the Dolphins had last year was defensive depth, right? Constantly having guys who could play. And then you lose Christian Wilkins. You lose Jerome Baker. You lose Deshaun Elliott. You lose Andrew Van Ginkel. Now, I get that those guys weren't exactly world beaters, but all of them played 60% or more of the snaps. They lost Raekwon Davis. They lost Brandon Jones. They lost Robert Hunt. Right? Those are all guys who played substantial snaps for this team. And even if they weren't always the best, and some of them, like Wilkins and Hunt, were very, very good, those are the kinds of guys you need to contribute, especially when you don't have a quarterback who can go Superman and win the game on his own like Josh Allen can. So while people talk about the Bills getting worse, and you're right that they have gotten worse, I'm not sold on this Jets team. And the Dolphins have suffered a lot too, such that I think it's actually pretty close to even for both teams.
Yeah, but I don't think the Bills are heads and shoulders better than the Jets and the Dolphins. And we were sitting here talking on the last show, the Jets most underrated team in football. They got the best.
And the answer is no. This Jets team's not going to be good.
But wait, Ziggy, who do you think is a bigger threat to Buffalo, the Jets or the Dolphins?
It's obviously Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. This Jets team is not going to be nearly as good as people think it will.
But this Jets roster is fantastic, and they have Aaron Rodgers now healthy.
What is it about the Jets that you don't like?
I do not think the Jets roster is as fantastic as people think it is.
I think
the defense is likely to regress. The offense, I mean, there's some good players on there, but a bunch of them are going to get hurt because that's inevitable. I'm not convinced Aaron Rodgers can defy time like Tom Brady did. And this Buffalo team still has the second best quarterback in football. They dominate the division at the most important position. And that means I'm going to put them at the top until something changes.
What were they last year? They were what, 9-8? And they lost.
I think they were 11-6.
Oh, 11-6. But lost in Arsenal. Like they were a game away from missing the postseason and lost a whole lot of guys.
But they ended up as the 2 seed.
I know, but this team was dead to rights.
Yeah,
and now,
I think that's the Josh Allen effect. Josh Allen is so good.
Josh Allen is awesome.
Yeah,
and I think the Bills will probably win the division. But I'm just saying why I have them at 3. Like I don't think that there's a better chance the Packers beat the Lions than the Bills lose out to the Dolphins or Jets.
Well, let me ask you just about Buffalo. Like, I mean, you guys are so down on Stephon Diggs. So what if he's heading out? You still have James Cook, you still have Dalton Kincaid. Like you got to hope someone has to step up at receiver. That has to happen.
I'm not sitting trying to knock Buffalo.
Oh no.
I think the Dolphins and Jets are good football teams.
Yeah, no. I know that's the reason.
Division.
That's the reason you have the Bills as the third most vulnerable is because the other teams are good.
I don't think in the NFC North the Bears or
the Bears or Vikings are not as good as like the Jets would be.
Yeah,
like the Jets could win the AFC East.
I think Buffalo will win the division. I'm just saying I think that
you also have the Bills winning the division, right, Ziggy, in the preview show?
Yeah, and I'll just say y'all are going to find out about Khalil Shakir next year. You will find out.
Look, I know people are high on him, but someone has to step up.
He reminds me of me. He's a short speedster. I bet you I can give you like 1 quarter in the NFL and have 1 catch deep.
Well, how many guys in football are there right now? How many quarterbacks truly are there where you can look at them?
You don't think so, Ziggy?
I'm not even entertaining that.
If I ran 20 deep balls in the NFL and Mahomes targeted me 20 times against the NFL corners, I'd have 1 catch deep on the sideline. I put my whole life on that.
What were you going to say, Paul?
Oof. Should we be at Jack's funeral like a week?
No, you wouldn't.
If I was saying, how many quarterbacks are there that you guys think like Josh Allen, where you could say, okay, they could carry a team on their own? Obviously, Mahomes. Is there anyone else like Lamar, Burrow? Would you guys put those guys in there?
Fields,
no.
Us.
Fields,
Mason Rudolph.
You just have 2, Ziggy.
I think when you're talking about just like whatever the situation, can they carry the team on their own?
Yeah,
those guys are at least a tier above anyone else in the NFL.
Gotcha.
I don't think Josh Allen can.
I mean, he did.
I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
He's won nothing, Josh Allen.
No, but to get to the playoffs last year, I mean, that was a pretty Herculean effort.
I mean, I think Buffalo had a good team. Like, I think you could put Patrick Mahomes on a crappy team that win the Super Bowl. Whereas Josh Allen, I don't think you can.
I think Josh Allen can carry a team though. Like if you put Josh Allen on most teams, they're going to be very, very good.
What's carrying a team? If you're not first, you're last.
I mean, you can't say he carried like at the end of last season, the Bills were battered and bruised, and he got into the playoffs.
If you're not first, you're last.
All right,
He didn't carry him.
All right.
Like I think if you put Mahomes on the Jaguars, they could win the Super Bowl. Josh Allen could not.
Oh, I think the Jaguars could win the Super Bowl with Josh Allen too. I think almost any team with Josh Allen could win.
Mahomes to me is a lot better than Josh Allen.
Oh, I take.
That's true.
Yeah, I think
Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he's
You got us.
a tier by himself.
So
I don't think Josh Allen can carry a team like he can.
Last one I want to talk about, guys, before we go on to the mailbag here, and I'm going to give Ziggy a chance to talk about a team that I don't want to. You haven't dogged this team at all, but you're down on them a bit. We all had the Ravens at 2, and I think a lot of people can sit back and look at this ranking and say, "Are you guys kidding me? Number 1 seed last year, MVP from last season. Is Baltimore really the second most vulnerable defending division champion?" My personal reason was I'd be afraid of Joe Burrow. I think the Bengals are that good, and the Ravens have lost quite a few pieces this offseason. So that's personally, I think the Bengals are winning the division. But how about you, Ziggy, where you've been a little more public in your distaste for Baltimore's repeat chances? Would you like to?
Yeah, so Baltimore's favored in the division, and they deserve to be. But if you look at how free agency worked for them this year, they had 5 players up for free agency that had played 70% or more of their snaps last year. They lost all 5 of them. And some of those were very good players. Kevin Ziegler, excellent player. Geno Stone, Morgan Moses, Patrick Queen, John Simpson.
God,
now, I know that not all of those guys were world beaters, but when you're talking about 3 offensive line starters, plus Patrick Queen, who really improved last year, and Geno Stone, who was always Mr. Reliable, losing that kind of stuff hurts. You also lose your defensive coordinator, widely regarded McDonald as one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. He did really, really good for them last year and was a huge driver.
Oh, yeah.
This is a team that operates through the offensive line. I know Lamar Jackson is elite, but when you have a team that's as run heavy as the Ravens, even though they weren't quite as run heavy with Monken, that was still one of the major ways they operated. They need to have a strong run game in order for Jackson to be a threat, the kind of threat that makes him an MVP candidate. And I worry just with how many pieces they lost that they're going to take a step back. Meanwhile, every team around them in the division, except maybe the Browns, got better. This Bengals team is getting healthy Joe Burrow back, and they haven't really lost anything. This team is scary. The Steelers added some quarterbacks. Are they the best quarterbacks in the NFL? No. But Russell Wilson and Justin Fields combined, one of them's got to be decent. You had a decent quarterback to a team that always wins 9 or 10 games. Maybe they win 11 or 12. The Browns, I mean, I'm not super high on the Browns, but they've got a great defense, and they always play the Ravens hard. You just never know how that game's going to go.
Yeah, it's the same question. Is Deshaun Watson going to be good?
It doesn't matter. You can replace Deshaun Watson with literally any quarterback in the NFL. You can replace him with me, and the game's going to be close because that's just how the AFC North operates.
It's also a black cloud franchise. They might just stink.
Yeah, they could.
Oh, yeah, no, look, they might win 0 games, but they will play all 6 of their AFC North games within a touchdown.
Competitively.
People are so down on Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to be very good this year.
Cleveland stinks.
No, they absolutely could, but I just mean that is such a tough division. It is the second toughest division in football behind only our NFC North. And the fact is, when you are a team that is taking a step back in a really hard division, you're vulnerable. And the fact is, dropping 1 or 2 division games could be all that it takes.
Yeah, that's the thing with Baltimore is they have, automatically 6 dogfights on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the rest of these teams on this list probably don't. Maybe besides the nobody.
It's a rivalry, but Cowboys beat the Giants combined 89-17 last year.
Yeah. No. And these
you're not doing that in the North.
Are ridiculous. I actually do think the run game will get better, Ziggy, with Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell coming back. So if there is one positive to take away from their offseason, and there are some positives for the Ravens, but I think the Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell duo could be really, really dangerous next year, especially when you add in Lamar's legs. So the Ravens rushing attack should be.
But you lost Gus Edwards, and nobody's going to look at that as a huge loss. But he is. Ravens fans know this was a guy you could rely on. He got over 5 yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry for his career in Baltimore.
Dude, why
with a lot of carries.
We just got Derrick Henry. Why? I would much rather have Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell than Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, which is what they had at the end of the year. You know,
man, Derrick Henry's got to get hurt at some point.
Oh my gosh, the Ziggy theory on this show is people get hurt.
You know what it'll be, Ziggy? I mean, the AFC North is a bad division for Derrick Henry. You got Alex Highsmith coming in, TJ Watt. Like he might not last.
Yeah, so Derrick Henry is a complete upgrade. Don't get me wrong. I am just saying I don't think he's that much of an upgrade over Gus Edwards at this point in his career.
Running backs don't matter. I agree.
Oh my gosh,
the Ravens line is fantastic. Put anybody behind you like we've seen, and they'll be good. Thank you. I agree. Gus Edwards.
Look, that's not quite what I'm saying. Derrick Henry is an upgrade.
With you.
But I'm saying that it's not the kind of upgrade that transforms the Ravens. The Ravens have always had a good rushing attack. They will again next year. Derrick Henry might be better than Gus Edwards, and he will be, but it's not going to be by that much. Meanwhile, replacing whatever quarterback, like we're adding Joe Burrow in, is such a huge upgrade for the Bengals offense. That's a much bigger upgrade than the equivalent Derrick Henry for Gus Edwards.
Who's that?
You can't deny that.
Who came in last year? That rookie,
Mitchell.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I mean, Keaton Mitchell's very good.
He's awesome.
In my mind, they get Mitchell and Henry, and I'm like, all right, it's on. It's on in Baltimore.
Mitchell, he's somewhat like no name back, and he's great.
Yeah, he averaged what do you average, like 8 yards a carry or something?
He will not be. I mean, he's not. You're making him sound like he's a scrub. He's just a really good player.
No, he's great. He's awesome. Okay, we'll get into. So I think we owe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a video later on. We're gonna move on to the mailbag now. But the Bucs and the Falcons, you know, we had the Bucs as the number one most vulnerable team. I think everyone, like we said at the top of the show, everyone needs to have them there. Even though I think we all like Tampa.
I love the Bucs. They're my guys.
Like they very well could repeat as NFC South champions. But we'll have another video coming out on that because we've had Bucs fans in the comment section before. Yeah. We'll get them.
And I don't want them to take that as a slight to Tampa Bay.
It's not at all.
It is really tough to pick you to win when they're the only one of these teams that is not favored to win their division.
Oh, and to be fair to Tampa, like they got to the divisional round last year and they played a close game. They had the ball at the end against Detroit to go to the NFC Championship game. So I don't want anyone to think that we're dogging Tampa because especially year 2 now, they brought everyone back. I like the Bucs a lot. I'm actually close to even picking them over Atlanta in the division.
I mean, I had Tampa win the division last year, and I was called a lunatic.
Yeah, no, you did. You are.
People come at me for my outrageous takes, but I'm right more than I'm wrong.
But here you are. Yeah, here you are. All right, we'll move on to the mailbag. And remember, if you become a member of the channel, you can leave a comment, and we will read whatever you write, as long as it doesn't get us canceled. That's the one rule. So we'll move on to the mailbag here from Go Pack Go Infinity. He says, which teams do you think will be the most improved next year, and which teams will regress the most next season? So we've got this question a few times, and we've sort of given different answers each time. I'm actually going to go with a bit of my own unique take on this here. I think the Eagles are going to actually progress from that 1-6 ending of the season, where the record they had at the end of the year might be kind of similar, but the Philly team you saw to close last year, I don't think that's the Philly team you're going to see over the course of the regular season. I believe they'll be much improved. They'll be playing with a little bit more heart. I mean, they went out really just pathetically last year. Remember the Bucs game just get blown out in your playoff game? Like that did not feel like the Philadelphia Eagles. And Ziggy, you said maybe it's a problem with the coaching. Maybe the culture's just crushed. Could happen. I don't expect it to happen. I think the Eagles progress.
Can I take the cop-out answer and say Atlanta? Or should I make another team?
Well, like Atlanta, Chicago.
You can say Atlanta.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta's going to progress. It's got a very good quarterback.
Chicago, I think you could throw in there too.
No, I don't like Caleb Williams.
Oh, yeah.
The best USC could be in the league is Sam Darnold.
I'll drink to that.
And then regress, I'd probably go Baltimore. Like, what were they last year? 14-3? Right?
Baltimore?
Yeah.
13-4, 14-3.
They had the number 1 seed in the AFC. I believe 13 or 14 wins. Yeah, they're a very good team. I don't see it again.
How about you, Ziggy?
The team I've got to progress the most, I've talked about them a lot in this offseason. When we eventually get to our division for previews, I'm really going to put my foot down. The Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. This is a team that I've been saying all offseason. I could be an absolute fool for this, right? It is totally possible if the season starts, the Cardinals suck and everyone makes fun of me. But I just think Kyler Murray is a pretty good quarterback. And they keep adding talent around him, both on offense and on defense. I think this is going to be an OKC Thunder type situation where they keep getting draft capital, they keep adding players, and eventually it's going to click. Do I think they're going to be Super Bowl contenders next year? No. Do I think they're making the playoffs? Absolutely.
Okay, I like that. Any regression candidate come to mind?
We've talked about most of the regression candidates I have in the previous episode. The Ravens,
Baltimore,
I think, have to be number one.
From James Library, who is a member. Thank you, James. You always leave a comment. We appreciate that. He says, I love listening to you guys on my commutes to work. It's like talking with friends about sports. In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month in May, how are you guys doing? I'd say I'm doing pretty well right now. A lot of work with the NBA playoffs for my job producing right now. But once we get through that, should be smooth sailing, and we'll enjoy the summer doing this show. How about you, Ziggy? Doing well?
Yeah, I chapter 1 is close to approved, so the dissertation is progressing.
There
And
you
that
go.
decides my mental state each and every day.
There you go. Ziggy is a daily case.
Summer's.
I mean, aren't we all? We're all. It's all a daily. It's all a daily case.
Summer's.
But yeah, summer's coming
One
up.
bad
It's
day.
nice outside.
I'm up by-
Hopefully, everyone's doing.
I'm
well.
off by 3 p.m.
James says, sports wise, who is your least favorite sports talking head? I find I can't stand Mike Florio for so many reasons. Keep up the amazing work, guys. I'll let you guys answer this one. Even though James is a member, I'll hold back on this one a little bit, just because, in the industry, you never know.
You.
Yeah, me.
No,
me.
I'm gonna say this is any like sports commentator ever.
Anyone
out
who
there.
drives you crazy. Yeah.
The commentators for the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't know their names, but I can't stand them. I'm also a Pirates fan, so
What
whenever
about
I'm
you,
watching
Ziggy?
on the local broadcast for St. Louis, they annoy me.
Any sports commentators? Doesn't have to be someone you hate. Just is there someone that you like find yourself disagreeing with?
I mean, Mike Florio consistently lies to his audience.
There it is.
The fact that he just consistently is dishonest makes him
There it
number
is.
one. Another, it's I could go. There's a lot of people who are consistently dishonest that I could criticize, but as you say, Paul, we're in the industry. We have to play nice with people like Pat McAfee.
Hey, I like McAfee, but yes.
Yeah, look. So what if he
I like
is
Matt.
consistently dishonest? Right? Who cares? Not that I'm saying anything about
Ziggy,
Pat McAfee.
Ziggy is the one out of any of us to get into this. Ziggy is the one that we just got to be careful for.
Look. You're allowed to lie, right? You're allowed to do things for entertainment value and mislead the people who watch you. It's not how we do things here, but no one's going to sue you.
The best is Ben Stevens, Sports Trade Radio.
Oh,
He's the
yeah,
best.
He's
the
Jack's
best.
former co-host. From that
Best is Zach
8203.
Bloomquist, Paul Farrington show.
Oh yeah, Zach Bloomquist.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
remember the Josh Allen sucks argument he made last year? Yeah.
Look, no one bats 100.
From Matt Niels 8203, who is also a member.
no, a lot of people are
Matt-
100. No one bets 1,000.
You're-
Matt
No,
always
but-
leaves
yeah,
comments
okay.
for us. Matt says, "Hey guys, more of a lore question here. How did you guys meet and become friends? What's the origin of the Paul Farrington show?" Well, Jack and I met in second grade.
The Mrs. Claus is
We had
nice.
mutual friends. Our old friend Mike connected me and Jack, and then we were in second, third grade class together. We've been friends since then. Ziggy and I met in college. We were in Carroll Hall at Notre Dame. Great dorm, and we just hit it off. We hung out the night of Disso in the common room and played some NFL Street, I believe, and just had a great time.
And when I,
Before I had met Paul, I'd only seen one football game in my entire life, and that was the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, the fact that Ziggy is sitting here right now talking sports, what, plus like 500 million or something if you go back to freshman year?
Yeah, I mean, I picked Notre Dame in spite of the fact that I thought all the sports team stuff is total garbage. But, you kind of have to go to the football games. I started going with you. You got me into sports radio and the broadcasting, and before you know it, here we are.
It was great.
so you're really a total nerd.
like in
freshman year.
philosophy wise, Ziggy did not know sports at all. But I mean,
No, but like sports isn't that hard to learn. It's just like
Ziggy.
philosophy.
Ziggy, back at Notre Dame, how good were you on the pong tables?
I have never played.
Did you let it? You're like, oh, really?
Really?
Ziggy,
well, we had a ping pong.
Oh.
I mean, we had some pretty intense ping pong matches downstairs, like as a dorm.
you got to come for a summer darty up to.
But it's funny
Maybe I
if you
will.
wanted the answer for how the show got going. Actually, it was just I saw a flyer for the radio station. I always thought it'd be fun to do a show. So started up with our buddy Will, and the placeholder as the name, we couldn't think of a name, just said Paul Farrington Show. And I was like, all right, like we got to think of a name. Will, he's like, how about we just keep it the Paul Farrington Show? It's like,
And you and I both he and I both voted keep it. You were adamantly opposed.
I was adamantly opposed, but we were like, all right, until we find a new one. Will misses the first show. So literally the second show, I'm like, Will can't come again. I asked Ziggy and our friend Max to come on. Ziggy and Max are just phenomenal at it. Like, again, Ziggy barely into sports at this point, but he's like, Paul, I'm a philosophy guy. I'm trained to argue. And I went, yeah, that makes complete sense because that's what we're doing, just going back and forth on topics. And right there, I was like, all right, you have to do this with me every time. And he was
and
like, okay,
we did.
There it is.
I was a late add-on back when they moved back home. I remember one of your first shows, like early in college sometime. I was home for the weekend and I was driving back up to school on like a Sunday or no, Monday morning, some weekday whenever you did the show. And I was listening. And I forget the take, but Ziggy says something so outrageous. And I was I drove to school and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy, you gotta be kidding me.
Here you are now.
But now I'm honored to be a fellow co-host.
From D Mollinator, he says, to each member of the show, what's the most likely Super Bowl matchup? What's the spiciest Super Bowl matchup? I mean, most likely, we all say it's a rematch, 49ers Chiefs. We all think they're the best two teams, right?
Most likely. Yeah, unfortunately, probably.
Yeah.
Spiciest, maybe like Lions Texans.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Lions Texans is fun. Ziggy, you got one? Spicy matchup?
Packers Dolphins.
Steelers Vikings.
I like that. I like the Bengals a lot. In terms of spicy matchups, I think if you have Packers Texans, I think that's a really fun matchup of young quarterbacks. Obviously, that would be horrible to see. You could always
Panthers Titans.
Packers Jets.
What did you just say, Ziggy?
Panthers Titans.
Panthers Titans. Yeah, there it is.
Packers Jets.
You could have Cowboys Chiefs would be a spicy Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That would be
two of the most annoying fan bases in the NFL.
Yeah, that would be wild.
What about Falcons Eagles? Or no, sorry, they're the NFC. Falcons Dolphins.
Oh, like that would be a weird Super Bowl.
I guess it's not that spicy, yeah.
I mean, Kirk versus Tua. I like Kirk. I love Kirk. I'd be watching, but yeah, a Cowboys anyone would be pretty entertaining. From
Steelers Cowboys.
Sully 933 from Sully 9332. Can't read. Who's also a member. Thank you, Sully. He says, which is more likely, the Packers regress this year or the Vikings progress this year? Really can't read. Damn, I love this show with 3 exclamation points. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Packers regress or Vikings progress, Ziggy?
So for the Packers to progress, they'd have to make the NFC Championship?
For the no, Packers regress or
so for the Packers to regress, they'd have to not make the divisional round, and for the Vikings to progress, they'd have to what?
Well, I'm not sure if I'd say the Packers regress if they don't. Like, let's see, they can even get to the divisional round. They could be a better team. Like, do you during the regular season, or do you think the Packers will be?
I don't think the Vikings win 7 games next year, so I think it's got to be Vikings regress.
Okay.
So it's that simple, I think. I think the Packers, I'm not sure how much better they're going to get, but I think they probably win more than 9 games, and I think they're probably a playoff threat. So I think they at least stay steady. The Vikings, I think, are just going to it's a transitional year for us.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's more likely
Vikings regress?
The Packers.
Okay, I totally bungled the question. You're right. The question is, do the Packers regress or do the Vikings progress? Okay, let me start this over.
I was sitting here, I'm trying to...
No, Paul's trying to connect the dots.
You go back and watch.
I refuse to understand the question.
I'm staring into space.
No, this is what I'm like during philosophy Q&As sometimes. I think given that the Packers would have to... It's more likely the Packers regress just because it's tough to make it as far as they did last year. That's difficult to do. The Vikings, all they really have to do, even if I think it's unlikely, they've got to win. They've got to be a wild card team or even just win like 8 games. I think that it's likely the Packers progress and the Vikings regress, but it's more likely the Packers regress than the Vikings progress.
I might take a Vikings progress. I mean, I have a weird feeling about Sam Darnold. I really do. I don't know why, but I just do. Well, I think this offense is very explosive.
It is.
The Packers were, honestly, like those last, 9 weeks were fantastic.
Unbeatable almost.
It's tough to be better. Maybe it's not, but I feel like it is. I'll go Minnesota to progress.
I think the Packers are going to be a better football team this year than last year, even with the fantastic finish. And I also think the Vikings will be as well. Where at the end of last year with Dobbs and Mullins and who was our Jaron Hall, like that was just a disaster at quarterback. I think the Vikings will be like record wise. I think you have to say the Packers regressing probably a little bit. What the Packers end with 10 wins on the season?
9 wins.
Nine. Oh, yeah, no, they're going to be double digits. So I'd say it's more likely that the Vikings progress than the Packers regress next season. I think the Packers will be a really good team, and the Vikings should be solid. Would it shock me if they had eight wins? No. So I'll go Vikings progress. From Eric Wallace, who here we go. He took advantage. Eric Wallace, who is also a member, he says, which team with a high ceiling do you think is most likely to be handicapped by their special teams? This is, I know Packers fans have had a lot of gripes with their special teams over the years, especially look at the field goal at the end of the season. Gosh, that was crazy when they missed that against San Francisco. You're going to the NFC Championship game if you hit that. The most likely team to be handicapped by their special teams. Is there any kickers? I have
no idea.
I'm trying to think if there's a kicker that I don't trust right now.
I'll be abstaining
in this situation here. Not Dallas, not Philly. I mean, it might be Green Bay again with their special teams. They always seem to have their issues with returns in certain moments and kickers. I would probably say the Packers right now.
I'll say the team with the worst special teams in the NFL last year was the Rams in terms of DVOA. I think the Rams will be a pretty good team this year. But here's the thing, right? Is when you're talking about this, I assume it's like which team is. When we're talking high ceiling that's capped by special teams, it's what team could be good, but the special teams keeps costing them. The Rams, I think, are going to play a lot of close games with a lot on Matthew Stafford and a lot on a young defense. That's the kind of thing where a bad special teams unit can just break you and cost you your chance at the playoffs. And I think that's what happens to the Rams next year.
Yeah, I'll have to think on that one some more too. But yeah, the Rams and Packers, watch out. Packers could be good. They just brought in our guy, Greg Joseph. So he's in there competing with Carlson right now. And like I think that's an actual competition. They're trying to push Carlson, but Greg Joseph was solid. If you could build a coaching staff using only coaches from the NFC North, what would your staff look like? I'm assuming we'd probably all take Ben Johnson, right, as offensive coordinator. Right? Yeah. And then as head coach, who are you taking in this situation, Ziggy? I know we'll leave Jack out because he doesn't care.
Probably Matt.
I'm taking Dan Campbell because if I've already got Ben Johnson, I don't need the offensive minds behind LaFleur and O'Connell. Dan Campbell just seems like that guy. He's going to get your team ready to play, and he's going to consistently make the right decisions in game.
And then,
true. I think the biggest aspect of a coach is the ability to hype up the team. So I'd probably go Dan Campbell too.
You give it the in-game decision-making from Dan Campbell?
Yeah, that's a huge edge. It's one of the biggest edges in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you love it. I forgot you love it. I mean, I love Dan Campbell. I think he's great. Sometimes I think he's a moron. Like
he won them a whole bunch of games.
I also think he cost them potentially the chance to go to the NFC Championship game.
You don't get there unless you make decisions he does. But
I would probably go. I know Flores would be my defensive coordinator. Flores, Ben Johnson, and then I think I'd take O'Connell. Actually, I think O'Connell's a really good head coach. Packers fans could be mad about that, but I think O'Connell's a smart guy. Team loves him. And last thing, here it is. Eric says, lastly, I want to hear Paul read this, so I will read it for you. Jordan Love is already in MVP talks in his second season, and I'm going to watch Sam Darnold chase ghosts. Go Pack, go! Membership perks from
for $5 a month. You too could get Paul to read crap like that once a week.
I mean, we'll say whatever you want.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than saying the GPG. From Brandon, and well done, Eric. From Brandon Rosendow, he says, over under 4.5 games, how long does it take to start JJ McCarthy? Well, we're going to have a video coming out on the Vikings schedule that will be released probably tomorrow that you'll see, but we'll get into the JJ McCarthy there. I'm going to say over 4.5 games, though. I think that
over also.
Yeah, that'll be the bye.
I'll tip the video a little bit. I think they're targeting the week after the bye to start him.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, hey, week 5 is the Darnold revenge game against the Jets. You can't miss that.
Miles Williams says, this is my go-to source for Packers news. LOL. Love watching the channel grow. Who do you think has the best receiving core in the NFC North? Then he adds Ziggy 2024. I mean, Ziggy, people are calling for it. So might need to make it happen. It's a great question because when you really lay it out, the NFC North receiving cores are all fantastic.
Vikings is one.
So wait, I'll read them out and then you tell me, Jack, who you like. So you got Jefferson, and I'll include tight ends as well. Jefferson, Patterson, Powell, and Hawkinson. That's the Vikings. The Bears, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Odunze, and Cole Kmet. I mean, that's loaded. Packers have Watson, Dobbs, Reed. They have Wicks as well, and Musgrave. And the Lions with Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, and Sam Laporta. So you got Vikings at 1?
Vikings won just because they have Justin Jefferson. The best receiver by a long shot in the NFL. I think Addison is very solid too. I like the Hawkinson addition. 2, I'd probably go with Green Bay. I think they have 4 kids who are all just as solid as the next. Someone left as a variety of options there. Then I'd go with Detroit.
Over Chicago?
Yeah, I think Chicago's quarterback's next.
No, just receiving group.
Well, no, I mean Keenan Allen's an injury-prone guy.
Okay.
DJ Moore is very good.
I mean, Amon-Ra and Laporta is very good.
I think Amon-Ra is the best out of that whole bunch of the Detroit and Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's close, but I'd go Detroit and then Chicago.
How about you, Ziggy?
I don't know if I can say what I'm thinking without being accused of being a troll.
Please just do it.
I think the Packers we're taking it for next year. I think the Packers are going to have the best weapons in the NFC.
Honestly, might.
I hate to say it, but I think Christian Watson is finally going to be healthy. And I'm one of those guys who thinks when you have the ability to throw out 4 or 5 receivers there, that's so taxing on a defense. The Vikings have, if you're just looking at top 3, they've got it. But like, who else are we throwing out there? N'Keal Harry, Trent Sherfield. Like, you just don't have the ability like the Packers do. You can put 5 receivers out there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're number 1 just because they have so much flexibility. Number 2, of course, has to be the Vikings. Number 3, I have the Lions. Because of the top end strength. And I think Khalif Raymond is a pretty good player. The Lions are going to be happy to have him next year. And then 4, even though I think this is close to a top 10 room in the NFL, it might be a top 10 room in the NFL. I've got the Bears.
They all might be top 10, which is crazy. Mine's a little weird. There's probably a little bias in here, but Justin Jefferson is too good. Like he is just so damn good. And I think Hawkinson's the best tight end of the group when he's healthy. So I'm going to go Vikings hesitantly. Then I actually have the Bears. Keenan Allen was awesome last year. I know he's injury prone, but DJ Moore it's so underrated. Rome Odunze should be a great rookie. Then I have the Packers. Then I have the Lions at 4. Where again, Amon-Ra and Laporta is a crazy combo, but I'm a little more down on Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond than I am the other 3s and 4s in the group. So I think it's super close all around. Let us know in the comment section who you like more. Okay, we'll continue on with the mailbag here. Got a handful of questions left from Sammy50599. Thank you, Sammy. You always leave a comment. He says, I see a lot of people expecting the NFC North to be really good this year. I think what a lot of people are missing is that half the teams have rookie quarterbacks and CJ Stroud stories don't happen very often. Let's say we give each team in the North a year with their current rosters. If these teams hit their ceilings, what do you expect the division rankings to be? The ceilings in the NFC North are pretty high.
Hit their ceilings.
These are high ceilings in the NFC North.
Green Bay's 1.
Green Bay?
Yep.
Okay.
Green Bay's definitely number 1. Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota.
I think I would agree with you on ceilings for this upcoming season.
If the teams hit their ceilings, the absolute best they can be this season, the Bears win the division.
No.
Caleb Williams has the potential to be a genuinely special quarterback and dominate the quarterbacks in that division. I mean, the way Patrick Mahomes dominates Justin Herbert is what he could do to Jordan Love, even next year.
Like, how much better do you think he'll be than like CJ Stroud was at his ceiling?
If he hits his ceiling,
it's not that much better.
But CJ Stroud would have owned Jordan Love last year.
Stroud was awesome.
CJ Stroud would have, if you were taking the totality of the season, CJ Stroud would have owned Jordan Love last year.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think rookie Caleb Williams?
I think he could be a little better than CJ Stroud. Yeah.
But I think his ceiling is higher. The ceiling again.
Well, I still think you also have to keep in
mind. This Bears defense is also they have a lot of strong pieces on it. If this defense hits the ceiling, it's the best defense in the NFC North too. So I think if they hit their ceiling, I think it's unlikely. They finish 1, Packers 2, Lions 3, Vikings 4.
I'm talking ceiling. You got Green Bay, or Detroit, like 13 wins.
What's the McCarthy ceiling? That's what I want to know. What's the McCarthy ceiling?
I just don't see it with McCarthy next year.
Okay. Because the Vikings are a very talented team too. I know we have them at 4.
I thought
the Vikings defense is clearly the worst in the division. That the ceiling there is no ceiling. That's what holds us back.
There is no ceiling.
No, the Vikings are the worst ceiling of the 4.
Ziggy, you bring up a good point. The Bears could actually be one on that. But I would probably go maybe. Oh man, we hit their ceiling. Those are 3 really good teams at the top. I think the Vikings actually, if Darnold's good, the Vikings should be a very competitive team as well. I would probably put it at Green Bay at 1 for now, just on the ceiling for next year. I think Love would be close to Caleb, like if they hit their ceilings. Then probably I'll probably still put Detroit at 2, then Chicago 3, Vikings 4. But I think you bring up a great point. Another question from D. Mullen there. He says, which team in each division is most likely to play spoiler and win the division or knock out a serious contender out of the playoffs? I'll answer for Ziggy real quick. He thinks the Cardinals could be a really good team and play spoiler season. Yeah, there it is right there. Playing spoiler, the Steelers could definitely play spoiler, some of the AFC North teams, where I don't necessarily think Pittsburgh's going to be a Super Bowl contender. But they'll be good enough where, if the Ravens or the Bengals are chasing a 1 seed, I can see them, later in the season, they have all those division games. I can see the Steelers messing up some plans of their division rivals.
Oh, going to Pittsburgh, it's no easy task.
No, but even taking Pittsburgh on the road in your home building.
Right. No, task. Pittsburgh is no easy task. That's my answer too. I say Pittsburgh, my boy's a spoiler.
Let's see here. From D.D. Jenkins, 5409. He says, if Drake May is bad, is there a chance Joe Milton starts? If so, how many games do you think the Patriots will wait before benching him? No, there's no world in where Milton is playing next season in front of Drake May. Drake May, once he takes over for Brissett, will be the quarterback, barring injury.
Joe Milton is not ready to play quarterback in the NFL and probably never will be. But you should look up the highlights from him at OTAs. He's throwing balls that look like they're computer generated. They go so far.
I think Milton's just as good as May.
Don't do this, Jack. Don't do this.
What do you mean?
We've been having a great show.
He was a 10 plus.
You've kept things under control. Don't do this.
He was a 10 plus winner in the SEC. 10 plus game winner in the SEC.
I'll let you have it, Ziggy. If you
go watch some UNC games, please, dude. This is unbearable.
UNC, you think Joe Milton stinks?
If you think Joe Milton and Drake May were remotely the same quarterback,
Andrew Miller's a better arm.
Well, yeah, that's about it.
He's a stronger arm. Yeah, sure.
That's important to me in the NFL.
Oh God! All right, 3 questions left here from David Kurst.
Ziggy.
From David Kurst, he says, if you could create an all-time NFC North team, who would you pick for the positions? Here's mine for you. At quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Running back, Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, and AP. I think here in this situation, we'll just pick one. Wide receiver is Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Devontae Adams, Chris Carter, and Sterling Sharp. At tight end, Mike Ditka, Greg Olsen, and TJ Hawkinson. Rodgers is probably the quarterback. It's Rodgers or Fran Tarkington. You're going to have, or Favre, or Bart Starr if you really want to go back. So I'll go Rodgers as well. Would you guys quarterback?
Yeah, I'd go Rodgers too.
Yeah.
And then running back, man, it's hard for me not to pick Peterson because he's my guy, but I will trust my dad because he always says Barry Sanders is the best running back he's ever seen. I know people love Ziggy's going to say Walter Payton.
People forget about Gale Sayers, man. People forget about him.
People do.
Those 3, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Gale Sayers, are the only acceptable running backs. Adrian Peterson doesn't belong.
Oh, Peterson was awesome, Ziggy.
Peterson's a Hall of Fame running back. He doesn't belong with those 3.
I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. Then I'm going to go Adrian Peterson.
I'm very upset about that, Ziggy. Adrian Peterson in his prime.
He's a Hall of Fame running back.
Adrian Peterson.
He was the best I've ever seen.
Prime Adrian Peterson is probably the best football player I've ever seen.
He's probably the 6th best running back in NFL history.
It's crazy that the NFC North has had, 3 or 4?
No, the NFC North has had almost every all-time great running back. That's what's unfortunate, right? There in almost any other division, Adrian Peterson's number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, no, I have no problem.
Even Herschel Walker, he played in the NFC North. Almost every all-time great running back has stopped in the NFC North at some point.
You got receivers, Jack? It looked like you were ready to go.
Yeah. I got Aaron Rodgers, AP.
Give me three receivers.
Okay, my backup running back is Matt Forte.
Yeah.
And then my receivers, I go Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, Jordy Nelson.
That's just pissed me off, yeah.
Tight end, I'd go probably Greg Olson.
Ditka has to be the tight end, right? And I'm trying to think if there's anyone else.
Can't believe no one's mentioning Don Hudson for the wide receivers.
Steve Jordan was really good for the Vikings. Wait, Don Hudson? All right, come on. So you're not taking Don Hudson.
Don Hudson, I mean, if you look at how people talked about him back in the day, one of the best receivers. Packers fans can come in here.
Okay, what receivers are you taking? Who are your three? You get three.
I'm taking Moss. I'm taking Megatron. I'm taking Don Hudson.
I'm taking Moss, Megatron, and Chris Carter. That's mine. And then Ditka would be the tight end. That's a great question.
Do you understand, like, Don Hudson, for about 60 years after he played, was regarded as the best player in NFL history?
Ziggy.
Yeah, I just want to take him over Randy Moss.
Ziggy.
Or Chris Carter.
Ziggy.
What?
How big is your Ditka?
There we go. 2 questions left from Squillyham 1. He says,
that's my mail, but I'm a member. That's my mail. You got to answer it. That's my I'm a member question.
He says, everyone is talking about how Dak is going to get paid. However, I think it's a possibility that he doesn't get an extension this year. Do you think the Cowboys would or should move on from Dak after this offseason? I don't think they should.
No, I honestly think Dak's really good.
They can't move on from Dak. Who's replacing him?
Yeah, like who's
Trey Lance?
Yeah, who are you going to use to replace him?
And the team's ready to win right now. At the end of the day, we were going to talk about the Dolphins today. Dolphins have a team that's ready to win. You don't usually get that. Like, you don't usually have teams that are that good outside the quarterback position, ready to go. And the Cowboys are. All it takes for them is getting over the playoff hump, whatever it might be that's in their way come January football. But Dak Prescott was what we said at the top of the show, number 2 in MVP voting last year. They got to get that deal done. It's just going to keep getting more expensive for him. He will be a Cowboy, though. I know people are talking. I saw Nick Wright said the Giants. He'll be a Cowboy. Last question from Merle. A great way to end it with Merle.
This answer is easy.
But did you read Mercury Road's question?
No, I'm sorry. What did he say?
This is a member. Are you as surprised as I am that the Vikings didn't go all in and pursue Jim Harbaugh in the offseason? Before they ended up at quarterback, he would have been a tremendous upgrade at the position.
Oh, and yeah, Ziggy, let me know because I put this down, so this must have been added.
So this was about an hour ago, so it was right after we started recording. But I want to get the last member question in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Vikings went after Jim Harbaugh 2 years ago.
Well, but we didn't want him.
No, yeah,
we turned him down.
We said no to Jim Harbaugh. Do I think that might be a mistake in hindsight? Like it might wind up being one, yeah. But I think right now they're very pleased with Kevin O'Connell. And
I'm not convinced that Jim Harbaugh is the best guy to coach JJ McCarthy just because he was his college coach. They get along well and he got good results out of McCarthy. But when you're talking about one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, like no one would doubt that Kyle Shanahan's a better coach for JJ McCarthy. And I think that Kevin O'Connell is a very, very good coach.
Dude, I was pumped when the rumors were flying around about Jim Harbaugh going and interviewing with the Vikings. He had the full day interview. I thought it was a done deal. Jim thought it was a done deal. And it was disappointing when we didn't hire him because I barely knew who Kevin O'Connell was. But I'm
also Ziggy Wilf has done a good job. Like the Vikings ownership has done a good job picking coaches.
If you could right now, would you do it?
No.
I don't think I would either.
O'Connell's proven that he's the guy for this team. I really believe it.
Last question from Merle. He says, which NFL player would you most like to see on The Bachelor? Tyler,
there's one answer.
Jay comments. Give me socially awkward Danny Dimes. That would be pretty funny.
That's a good answer. There's one answer.
What is it?
Juju.
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Oh,
God. I would not want to watch Juju.
Yes, you would. That would be unbelievable.
I don't want to see Juju.
Why? That would be so funny.
I think Juju's funny, but I'm looking like I think Daniel Jones might be funny. No, Juju would be funny.
Juju funny than Daniel Jones.
I think getting Travis Kelce on The Bachelor while he's dating Taylor Swift would be hilarious.
I mean, Travis Kelce would be phenomenal. That was the first person that I thought of it as well, even though he's dating Taylor Swift. Who else are some good Bachelor candidates?
Randy Moss.
Max Crosby.
Who did you
Bill Belichick.
I mean, Rodgers would just be absurd.
There's a Golden Bachelor that Belichick can go on.
Bill Belichick on the Golden Bachelor. Final answer.
There it is. Oh my God.
Could you Bill Belichick just sitting there with his face?
Honestly, I'd love to see Tom Brady in the back.
And they're interviewing him. He's just like, well, it was a really nice date. And she I got her roses and she looked really pretty. I think there might be a second one.
We're on to Ashley.
Yeah, we're on to
She was super nice.
I have to date with Karen. Go. We're on to Ashley.
She was super nice, but I had to get rid of her.
That'd be so good. All right, Bill Belichick on the Golden Bachelor. That's what we want.
I'd like to see Brady on the Bachelor too.
What? It'd be perfect.
Yeah,
it'd be the perfect season. All right, let's wrap it up there.
I think I got a little hard on.
Oh, geez. All right. We'll wrap up the show here. Thanks again for everyone who listened. Remember, we drop mailbags usually on Monday or Wednesday right before the recording. Sunday, Tuesday, whenever it might be. Just check the community page, and we have mailbags that go up where you could put in your questions. If you're a member, we'll read whatever you say as long as it doesn't get us canceled. And we'll be back on Thursday with another episode, and we'll have some more. So we're going to start releasing some schedule prediction videos over the course of the next few weeks, where we'll break down over the course of 10 minutes or so a team's schedule and how we think they'll do. Of course, we give ourselves room to be able to change our opinions, but for now, we'll have hopefully the Vikings and Lions coming out soon. See ya.